Alright, welcome everybody. We are headed up north this morning. It's getting close to 9:30 and I gotta run over to a friend's shop and move a couple things, and then we're gonna go take a look at a SuperM I'm thinking about buying, and hopefully it's as good as it looks. It's not great looking, but it's cheap, and hopefully we can make a good tractor out of it. If not, it'll be a parts unit. But we're gonna head over to the shop and move a couple things, and then go over and take a look at this SuperM, so stay tuned. All right guys, we've got the tractor. As you can see, it's pretty rough, but we're headed back over towards the shop now. I didn't film much of looking at it over at the place, but I'll catch back up with you guys here once we get it unloaded over at the shop, and I'm kind of looking over it a bit closer, and we'll see what all it's got on it for goodies. All right guys, we're back out here to look this thing over. Just got it unloaded, and she's pretty rough, so I don't know if it'll be a parts unit or if this will be one we get running. Transmission goes into those two gears, but it won't move side to side, so we'll have to figure that out. Someone pulled the rocker shaft for the brakes for whatever reason and took the clutch pedal. We've got both brake pedals. There's one there and one's laying on the other side, but the clutch pedal and the rocker shaft it goes on is missing. All the clutch stuff is there though, so I don't know on that. Battery box seat, 3-point on the drawbar. It's missing the tongue drawbar, but that's probably because they added this on. Looks like a two-way cylinder. Got auxiliary hydraulics back here. You got your two-way hydraulic switchover valve, and then some other auxiliary ports. This all moves still. Looks like we got all the plug wires. Your hydraulic pump. Not really a whole lot of fancy stuff on this. There's a hydraulic kit. The battery box seat, that's a result of the hydraulics because you can't fit a battery in there usually. And the wide front end and the 3-point. So I don't know. She's locked up right now. Apparently it was running sometime in the last 20 years, which isn't incredibly promising, but it looks like it's sat a lot longer than that. So who knows, the inside of the motor may not be too bad. I'll probably pull the drain plug in a minute and see if it's got oil or water in it, and then maybe look down the spark plug holes and see what we see. Fuel tank's not rotted out. It's not pretty, but it's holding some really ancient gas. I don't know if you guys can see in there. Yeah, not great, but I think it'll be a savable fuel tank for something else if we don't get this one running. So I'll probably get the hood off here in a minute and maybe drain the oil, and we'll see what all that looks like and go from there. All right guys, we got the hood off, and being someone who doesn't work on a lot of M's, I forgot these have dipsticks instead of just the checks, and this dipstick is not rusty at all, and even has a tad bit of clean looking oil on the end of it. So I think I'm going to leave the oil in it. If there was moisture down there, this would be all sorts of surface rusted from the humidity, but it looks really good, which is a good sign for the bottom end of the motor. So I'm going to pull a couple plugs and see what we can see in there. It's had no muffler on it, so hopefully it's not full of water, but we'll see what we can see. There goes the plug wire, and I'll catch back up with you guys when I got the plugs out. All right, we got our plugs out, and that is not a promising look. These have rust built up so much, if it'll focus. I mean, it's filled the gap down there, so we are going to default straight to pulling valve cover and then probably the head. And best case scenario for this engine is going to be we can hone the part of cylinder we can see and then get it moving, and then take each piston to the bottom one at a time and hone its cylinder with the piston still in it. And that's about going to be the best case the way it looks. I can kind of see down in some of these. I don't know if you guys will be able to. Yeah, you're not going to be able to, but it's pretty rough looking. So I'm going to get to work pulling the valve cover, generator. I've pulled these heads before and there's a lot of junk that has to come off. So we'll see how far down I get, but we'll start with the valve cover and see what the rest looks like in there and then move on from that point. All right, we got valve cover bolts loose. I blew as much of the rat poop off from around the other side as I could get to. So we're gonna see what it looks like. I can tell you I already think I see rust. Not bad. That's actually really good considering the state of everything else. I will take that. Just a haze of surface rust that'll wipe right off. This is really clean. And someone's had this head off before because that's one of the nuts from the outside with paint on it. They got a little mismatch, which is fine. They're all the same, but the head's been off of her in the past, so we know that. So let me look over this thing a little more, maybe get a better look in the cylinders and think. I really am not excited to pull all this stuff apart to get the head off, but I still think we might have to. But we'll see. There might be another way to get her freed up without doing that. So let me get a better look at things and we'll come back. All right, I've got our old battery out and I tried looking up these Delco Freedoms and I found an ad from 1986. I'm thinking this one's probably early 90s, but that kind of dates this thing for us. So at least 30 years since it's run, I'd say. Who knows if it was in a barn for part of that time or what, but that's a pretty ancient battery. So I'm gonna do something I would not recommend, but I tapped all these valves. These two were stuck and they went down. Otherwise, all these other ones are free. And since all that moisture has to get past the valve stems, if it's really bad, most of them will be stuck. But with only two that were kind of sticky, just enough to hold themselves down, I'm gonna throw a battery in it, and I think we're gonna bump the starter and just see if the fan will turn at all, see how tight she's locked up. And if we're lucky, it might move some and we can work it back and forth and get away with not having to take the head off. But we'll see. I gotta see if my battery will even fit in there, or if I can hang it on the side or what. But we'll see if any of this electrical works and maybe see if we can't bump it. I sprayed all this in penetrating oil, got as much in the cylinders as I could so they won't be dry, and hopefully it'll turn and not break a ring. All right, it's a little bit later. Got my battery in here. Bumped the starter some and it's not moving. Had my buddy come over with a bore scope and we looked down in these. These two cylinders actually look really good. This one I don't see any rust. This one, it's very minor speckles on the wall. This one's not great, but you can still see some clean cylinder wall under the rust. And this one's pretty horrible, but this one, the piston's almost all the way at the top. So I really want to avoid pulling this head just because I hate pulling heads on these ends. So we're going to move on to pulling the starter out, give me access to that ring gear with the teeth on it. That way I can get on it with a pry bar and maybe we can get it to spin over some. They either torched or broke the hand crank out of it, so we'll have to get on the flywheel to try and spin it by hand. Alright, we've got our starter out. There's a little bit of a tight fit around this toolbox, but now hopefully, even with that angle, I can get in there on one of them teeth and get a bite and see if we can get some movement with a pry bar. So let me go grab a pry bar, work on it here for a little bit, and catch you guys back up if we make some progress. Alright guys, it's much later. We moved some stuff around, as you see. This thing's been soaking all day, and we've got acetone in the back 2 cylinders now, but she is still not free. So this will be the end of part 1 on this thing. Next weekend I'll bring some rims out with tires on them, and that way we can drag this thing around and maybe get it broke loose that way, because just using a pry bar in the bell housing is not working. As you can tell, I'm pretty out of breath. So yeah, stay tuned. Hopefully in about a week I'll be back out here, and we will hopefully get this thing freed up and maybe hear it run. So thank you all for watching.